What's up, guys? Banana Milk here, bringing you a $30 structure deck Lair of Darkness build, and this is just my kind of take on it. I've seen some other videos of how people are playing, and I'm just kind of trying to use similar concepts and also try a few different things. So obviously this deck isn't going to be amazing in competitive play with just the $30, but at the same time it's going to be also a good build that you can work with and add some things here and there too. So I've noticed that this deck is a little bit bricky at times, and it's not super consistent, but there are some good good things going for it. So we'll go ahead and get started. First and foremost, we're going to have 3 Darkest Diablos, Lord of the Lair. This card is really good. It's pretty easy to get out, actually. There's a lot of ways that you can use the tribute effect and bring it out from your hand, or from your you can bring it from your hand or the graveyard, and it's just it's a 3000 beater, and it's really kind of just puts pressure on your opponent. So really good card, easy to get out. There's a lot of things you can do to bring it out. So next up, we're going to run 3 Lilith. Another really good card. If it's normal summon, its attack becomes 1000, but there's a lot of ways to special summon this card so that you can use its 2000 attack. And also, if you tribute a dark monster, you can pick 3 random traps in your opponent, or 3 traps, and your opponent randomly chooses one to add to your hand, which is really good because if you do run 3 traps, you can pick obviously 3 of the same, and you're guaranteed a pick. So another really good card there. In this deck, I'm not running a set of 3 of any except 1 card, but getting that card can make a big difference. So I'll show you that when we get to it. Next up, we are running 3 Arima. This is basically a searcher for your Lair of Darkness field spell. It's kind of its main use. It's basically like running 6 copies of Lair of Darkness, which is incredibly good. I've tried to think of ways that you can use its other effect if you bring it out, but for the most part, generally you're going to be using it for getting your field spell out, which is what I've noticed is the most effective means of using this card. So moving on, this is my last, or well, actually there's one more, 3 of, but this is a card that I've been trying to find use for, Fiendish Rhino Warrior. I've noticed a lot of people aren't running this card, but I actually really do think it has some good uses. So just read its effect quick. Fiend monsters you control except Fiendish Rhino Warrior cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects. If this card is sent to the graveyard, you can send 1 fiend monster from your deck to the graveyard except Fiendish Rhino Warrior, and you can only use this effect once per turn. So this is basically, I mean, you can use you can send something like Stygian Street Patrol to the graveyard, banish it to special summon 1 fiend from your hand. There's some other things you can do. You can banish another fiend monster and use or sorry, send another fiend to the grave, and I'll show you. We're getting up here. Obviously I showed you we're playing 3 Stygian Street Patrol as well, and this is kind of getting into our 2-ofs here. You can also send, like I said, a different fiend and be able to use Phantom of Chaos, which basically lets you mimic another card and its effects. The caveat is your opponent takes no battle damage, so it doesn't really matter. But at the same time, there's a lot of cool combos you can use. I think Fiendish Rhino Warrior will be, I don't know, semi-useful. I found it, it's there when I need it, but sometimes, like I said, it does get a little bricky. I might try and change up the ratio, running 1 or 2 of. Just kind of trying to play with this right now. So I said 2 Phantom of Chaos, really good card. You can use basically any effect from a card in your graveyard. So really good card. Next two of here, we're playing 2 Duke Shades. I found that 3 is a little bit counterproductive. This card basically, it gains 500 attack for each monster tributed, each dark monster. And so basically with this card, if you have Lair of Darkness on the field, you can tribute your opponent's monsters as well. So I found running 3 does kind of get bricky again in the fact that you can't really do too much with it. Obviously a 2000 defense beater, but that's not the reason we're using it. It is a card that you kind of use maybe towards the end of the game as well. Just found that it's pretty effective when you have Lair of Darkness on the field, but if you don't, it can clog up your hand. So next to the one-ofs, we are running 1. I'm going to move these out of the way here. Alright, so we're running 1 Legendary Maju Garzet. This card it's very similar to Duke Shade in that you tribute all the monsters you control, and this card, its attack becomes the combined total of all the monsters on the field. So this card can get big. This is kind of your finishing card. I only run 1 of it because unless unless I'm in a position to win, I guess, I feel like this card isn't really effective. But this card can get quite big, so it's a fun card to play. Also playing 1 Vanity's Fiend. This is one of the cards that I like to use the Phantom of Chaos for. Use its effects, so I can use Phantom of Chaos and gain Vanity Fiend's effect, which basically neither player can special summon. It's 2400 attack, so he doesn't take battle damage, but you can destroy any monsters that your opponent gets on the field. It's a pretty big 2400 beater, so another good card there. And our last one-of, we're running 1 Tour Guide from the Underworld. This card basically lets you seek out Lilith, and she can be normal summoned, or sorry, special summoned. So in that case, she does keep her 2000 attack. Its effects are negated, but it's just a nice way to bring out Lilith from your grave. You can also bring out the Rhino Warrior, but I found that taking out Lilith is a lot more effective in the long run. So that's it for our monsters there. We'll move on to our spells here. So first off, we're running obviously 3 Lair of Darkness. Really good card. Makes all the monsters on the field dark, making tributing just cake. Basically, like I said, everyone's kind of been talking about just not letting your opponent play the game at all. Plus, I really like the artwork of this card. I just think it's really fun to play. I think these cards are going to be quite sought after in the next couple of months, just because of how good they really are. But other than that, it's just a card you want to see first turn almost every time. You can seek it out with Arima, or what was his name? I probably said it wrong. Yeah, Arima. It's a really good card. Relatively easy to get out. Sometimes it can be harder, but obviously, like you said, adding a few cards into this deck could be really useful, like adding 3 terraforming or something like that. So, alright, next we have 3 Allure of Darkness. This is kind of a little bit of a draw power card for us. Draw 2 cards, banish 1 dark monster from your hand. If you do not have any, send your entire hand to the graveyard. Just a draw power card. I think all of you know what it does by now, so we'll kind of move on from there. We're running 3 Hand of Destruction. Each player sends 2 cards from their hand to the graveyard and then draws 2 cards. Another really good kind of draw power. This deck doesn't have a ton of draw power, but running 3 of each of Hand of Destruction and Allure of Darkness, you can get decent hands. So that's it for the 3-ofs, and then we run 2 recurring nightmares. So basically, this is a pretty good card that you can run. Hand of Destruction. You send 2 monsters, or 2 dark monsters with 0 defense. So we can send either Phantom of Chaos. We can send the Maju. We can send Lilith as well, and basically we can bring him back with Recurring Nightmare. So it's a little easy combo. It's not really, it doesn't net you that much of an advantage, but it's a good card just to run kind of 2 of in there. So moving on to our traps, we run 3 Mind Crush. Really good card. Basically what the kind of decks that you're playing against in the meta that you see a lot of people playing at locals and stuff like that, Mind Crush is a really good card, especially comboing off with our virus cards. We're running 2 Full Force Virus, so you tribute 1 dark monster with 2,000 or more defense, and that's from either side of the field if you have Lair of Darkness. So it's a really good card. Look at your opponent's hand, and that's what allows us to combo so well with Mind Crush. So you look at their hand and all the cards they or all the monsters they control, and all cards they draw until the end of the 3rd turn after this card's activation, and destroy all monsters with 1,500 or more or less defense. So basically, you already are destroying cards with 1,500 or more or less defense, but you also get to see their hands, with giving you an easy Mind Crush. So a nice little fun combo there. Our 3rd virus, we're running 1 Eradicator Epidemic Virus. Basically the same kind of idea. Again, 2,500 or more attack. That can be from either side of the field. So you can send your Darkest Diabolos, and you can take him. I mean, if you tribute a dark monster, he comes back super easily. So the card is just really good. So yeah, moving on, our last trap card here, we run 1 Grinning Grave Virus. This is I only run 1 of this card. I've been trying to experiment. Maybe I can try 2 or something like that. I feel like it's a card that you don't really want to run 3 of. It doesn't combo that well with Mind Crush, and it's basically just a good card to run 1 of. It's one of those where it comes up when you need it, and sometimes when you don't need it, and it's a card that can be effective, but also can be kind of useless if you don't need it. So, and that's it for this deck, guys. Again, this is just an experimental deck for me. Like I said, I'm not super competitive at the game. I will try and play more. I do want to try and get into some locals and things like that, and start playing a little bit more and building some better decks. This is a deck that can definitely be improved upon, like with terraforming, or just a little bit more draw power too. I think would be really good for the deck. I've seen some people playing Lair of Darkness Frogs. I've just seen all sorts of crazy things with this deck. So hopefully, if you guys can think of some better ways to run this deck, let me know what you think. I'll try and do some more play testing and just let you guys know how it goes. Probably won't be my main deck. This is just a fun one to play, and I really like this structure deck, so something I want to try a little bit more of. So thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you next time.